Story 1 at 2:41 a.m. Maya's smoke detector chirp. You know that tiny, annoying warning. It gives you every 30 seconds when the battery's dying. 3 minutes later, someone on her OnlyFans sent a $5 tip with a message. You should change your battery. Maya lived on the 3rd floor of an old brick building in Portland, off, say, Morrison. She posted late after her bartending shift at a place with $6 old fashions and thrift store lamps. She used a ring light, a cheap tripod, and a privacy screen behind her bed. She kept things separate. She used a peel box near Powell's. No faces unless she wanted. She turned off She didn't even say Portland on her page. She said PNW. That night, a smoke detector chirped. She winced, rolled her eyes, kept filming, and planned to fix it tomorrow. Then the message came from a new son, Garden Dad 77. You should change your battery. Another tip, $10. I can hear it in your hallway. Maya stared at the message. She hadn't filmed in the hallway. She hadn't even walked through it on camera. She replayed her own clip. The chirp was faint, a high-pitched note in the background. You would not notice if you were not listening for it, but he did. Lol, yeah, it's annoying. She replied. Keep it cool, right? You do not feed the weird energy. Another message. You have white curtains. That was the first time she felt it, not anger, not embarrassment, just pressure. Like a thumb into the stone. Because the privacy screen hit the window. The window was behind it. There was no angle where a viewer could see her curtains. She walked to the window. White curtains. Yes, target. She looked, really looked. The screen was set up. The ring light stood in front of it. She panned her phone light across the wall, the floor, the closet, the door chain. Everything was the same. She wrote back. Lucky guess. The typing bubbles appeared. Dots stopped, appeared again. Then a tip, $2.22. Message, not lucky. That week, she noticed small things. Her doormat flipped, her mailbox slot bent like someone forced a flyer through it. In the laundry room. Her card had been moved to the second shelf, neatly placed on top of a box of Tide Pod. Neatness freaked her out more than mess. When you live alone, you can find comfort in your own chaos. Someone tidying is worse than someone breaking. On Friday, Maya got a padded envelope at a P.O. box. Return address, none. Inside, a thumb drive and a note that said, you should clean your vents. She went home, stared at her ceiling. The vent above the bed was coated in dust. She opened it with a butter knife. Taped inside was a tiny, flat disc with a grey Apple logo. Her iPhone pinged. AirTag found moving with you. She ripped it off the tape with shaking fingers and dropped it in the sink. It pinged again. The sound echoed in the tile. She wrapped it in foil. The sound muted, but she could feel it anyway. Some sounds live in your nerves. Maya went to the cops. They wrote things down. They nodded well. They said AirTags are a problem. They said block the account. She did. She changed her locks. She slid a wedge under her door. She bought a battery for the smoke detector and changed it that night. standing on an unsteady dining chair. At 2:41 a.m., there was no chirp, but there was a soft voice outside her door, speaking as if to a cat. There you go. That's better. Plop, and then slow, like someone admiring a good job. Her phone lit up. Push notification. New subscriber. Garden Dad 77. How? She'd blocked him. The new profile had a different avatar. But plant again. The same number pattern in the tips. $2.22. The same way of typing short, precise. Text arrive. You're breathing too fast. Try for in, 7 out. Maya tracked her breath, fighting the urge to obey. She closed her eyes and saw the vents, the white curtains, the hinge on the door, shaved wood around it. She tried to pretend, to go still, to make him doubt. But the message came anyway. I can hear you smile. Tyler was 27, Austin, Texas. He drove a dented Kia Soul with a Buc-ee's bumper sticker and had a shelf of shaker. Bottles that made him look like a man who had his life together. He lifted, he cooked, he posted thirst traps at golden hour on the footbridge by Auditorium Shores. He did custom videos. He kept it professional. His orders arrived in a flood after he went viral once. A stitched TikTok joke about being a nice guy doing dishes went everywhere. He woke up to 30 new subscribers and a DoorDash bag on his welcome mat. He didn't order. He opened it anyway. A burger, fries, a note, proteins. He thought it was a fan thing. He went to the gym, came back at midnight, and found another bag. This time left around back like you asked, according to the delivery note. He did not have a back. He lived on the second floor of a complex near Riverside and Pleasant Valley. His balcony looked at a pool with a closed for repairs sign that had been there since last summer, the third night. He saw a pair of eyes in the reflection of his sliding glass door. It was his own reflection, obviously, but behind it, something moved. He backed away. The porch light clicked on automatically. That is when he saw, on the metal frame of the sliding door, in the corner where the screen meets the glass, a tiny piece of blue painter's tape. When he slid the door, the tape would roll and crease. That night, the tape was smooth, meaning someone had opened and reclosed it from the outside, carefully to flatten the mark. He checked the lock. It was engaged. He checked his ring cam. It had disconnected around 1 a.m., then reconnected at 1:06. In the meantime, nothing. No motion alert. He opened the app again. There was a new device listed on his account. Backsteps. He did not name it that dot. He worked in IT before the gym thing. He knew to change passwords. Turn off location. Log out everywhere. He did. He said nothing to his subscribers. He posted a normal clip at 2:22 a.m. That number again. Though he did not notice her, $2.22. Tip came in with a message. You should put a towel on your car seat. You're going to sweat through the fabric. The next morning, he walked down to the covered parking. He loved that spot, always shaded. He reached for the handle and froze. Not because someone was there, because there was a folded white towel already sitting on the driver's seat. He called the police. Again, nods. The officer peered under his car. "We see this a lot," he said, and pulled off an AirTag taped inside the rear bumper with black electrical tape. "Usually X's. You got any?" Tyler shook his head. That night, Tyler parked on the street. He went upstairs. He packed a bag. He decided to stay with a friend in Pflugerville for a few days. Keep it chill, lay low. He stepped into the hallway and heard footsteps above him. Then a soft drag, like someone pulling a chair close to a window. He left anyway. On I-35, his phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. "Merging is hard. Right. Blinkers are for quitters." He did not look around. He drove. He imagined every truck was involved. His anxiety beat like a second heart. He took the exit, pulled into his friend's driveway, killed the headlights, and sat there breathing. 1, 2, 3, 4. His friend opened the door with a big grin, sleep in his eyes. "Dude, you good?" Tyler tried to answer, but his friend's smile slipped. He stared at Tyler's chest. Tyler looked down. The towel was gone. On the front of his hoodie, taped flat to the fabric, was a clear baggie holding a tiny square of blue painter's tape. Brooke did cosplay in Jersey City. She did no face, all costume, because she had a corporate job across the river, and an aunt who watched Facebook like it was the Weather Channel. She had a soft accent you only heard when she said coffee. She had a tripod, a green screen, and a trick for hiding her apartment. She shot everything in close-ups, in slices of fabric and lace, in pockets of leather. She thought she was safe. Brooke got a message one evening that said, "You are so meticulous. You match your lip gloss to your props." It felt flattering, not creepy. She said thanks. The next message said, "I love your attention to detail, like that transit ad in the reflection." She froze the frame. In the curve of her chrome headpiece, a smear of the outside world, a blurry rectangle with a blue diagonal. It could have been anything. It could have been nothing. She checked it anyway. She scrolled the comments. She scrolled the messages. A tip came in. $2.22. Blue diagonal. Bridge the gap. They run that ad on the Hudson-Bergen light rail around Newport. Hi, neighbor. Her hands shook. She closed the app. She paced. She told herself she was overreacting. She told herself not to be dramatic. Her phone vibrated again. Avery notification. Package at your door. She didn't order anything. She opened the door. A small box sat on the threshold. Inside, a memory card and a printed smiley face. The simple, flat kind you draw in middle school. She almost threw it away. Instead, she plugged the card into her Mac. There was one file. It was a video of her last shoot. Same angle, same lighting, same costume, but from a little further back. You could see the edges of the green screen, pile of safety pins, the cup of Duncan on the floor. The camera must have been placed on the bookshelf behind her, angled through the plant. She did not own a plant. She paused the video at minute 1. You could see the edge of a sleeve, a whisper of a body moving out of frame. She scrubbed forward 2 minutes 22 seconds. The timestamp landed like an elbow to the ribs. The frame changed. Her green screen dropped with a snap, revealing her living room. On the far wall, written in painter's tape, so light you would not see it unless the fabric frame was a word. Look, she looked. She looked at her closet. Bet the air returned. Bet the ceiling light. She stood under it and felt the heat. She got a step stool. She unscrewed the globe. Inside, there was a pinhole in the metal cap. No obvious device. But she was not reassured. She left the light fixture sitting crooked like a popped eye. She slept with every other light on. She dragged the suitcase to the door and stopped. Under the door, something was wedged, a piece of that same painter's tape. She peeled it off with 2 fingers. There was a hair stuck to it. Not hers, of course. Dark dot, she went to the super. They found nothing. The locks were not scratched. The hinges were fine. The door had no pry marks. Maybe it was a friend, the super said gently. Maybe you forgot. Brooke left anyway. She left the memory card on the counter. She left the taped word look on the wall because she could not bear to touch it. She texted her favorite clients and said she would be back soon with new costumes. The replies were sweet, supportive, normal. Then, after midnight, one more. Don't forget the tape. It's your best color. Jenna lived outside Cleveland, Palmer. She had a kid, a car seat, and a hard rule about not involving her family in her account. She wore a mask sometimes. She never showed the kid's face. Her bio said no meets, no exceptions. She treated it like a job because it was. Thursday night, she posted a set she was proud of, tasteful, lit by a thrifted lamp she bought at a church sale. Her phone buzzed with tips. She smiled. She washed dishes. She listened to the TV in the next room, her kid watching a cartoon. The theme song hummed through the wall. She went to bed. At 11:11 p.m., a message came. New fan, null account, no avatar, no bio, just an empty space. It tipped $222, no message. $10.22, then $2.22, then one more, $2.22. The screen captured on its armchair must have brushed it tanned. The flash startled her, bright in the dark. She put the phone face down. In the morning, there was a new message, a collage of pictures. P. She made the mistake of clicking. It was a mosaic of images scraped from her contact and stitched together to make a face. Not just any face of face, reconstructed from reflections. A sliver in the toaster, the curve of a spoon, the shine on a black TV screen. The iris reflection from a close-up she never posted. She stared and could see it there in her eye, a rectangular window, a neighbor's roofline, and something darker. Something like the outline of a person holding a phone, tiny, pixelated hand. The next image was worse. It was not art. It was a screenshot of a school pickup line. Minivans, SUVs, orange cones, her car in the middle, per bumper sticker in the frame, cropped. Her license plate blurred, like a courtesy that did not comfort her at all. The caption said, "I'm not the villain. I just pay attention." Jenna locked her doors. She called her sister. She did not tell her why, just asked her to get the kid from school. She called the police. "Document everything," they said. "Do you have any suspects?" She said no. She blocked null account. It did not matter. A new account appeared. The same blankness. A $2.22 tip. We should talk about boundaries. That night, she sat on the couch with all the lights on. She made a list of new rules. No reflective surfaces. No windows in frame. No repeating outfits. She looked at her bare walls and felt like she had moved into someone else's life. At 2:22 a.m., she woke to a sound like metal on glass. She went to the kitchen. Her phone was on the counter where she left it. The screen was away. A text from a local number lit it up. "Your dishes are so clean." She sat down. Her hands shook. She typed, "Who is this?" No answer. She typed again. "What do you want?" No answer. She put the phone face down again. But she knew. You do not ask a storm to want less rain. Put up shutters, or you move inland. I could give you more. I could tell you about Miguel in Santa Fe who found a Polaroid of himself wedged into his mailbox, stamped with that same simple, smiley face, the cheap circle eyes, the no-nose curve. I could tell you about Olia in Tampa, whose Amazon wishlist set to private kept receiving deliveries to her front door. Anyway, things she had hovered over but never bought. The kind of things that feel like someone dipped their hand in your thoughts. I could tell you about Logan in Des Moines, who got a direct message from an account with his own phone number as the username. Or about the woman in Phoenix who found her throw blanket folded, exactly the way her grandmother used to do it when she was a kid. And yes, it sounds sweet until you realize no one else knew. But patterns matter. That is what I learned. I started this as a video. Creepy things that happen to some OnlyFans creators. Write a list. A spooky one. Something to tell you at midnight, and then let you fall asleep with your phone slipping out of your hand. But in the interviews, in the messages and voice notes and coffee shop meets, a thread tucked loose, and I kept pulling. The $2.22 tips, the blank avatars, the houseplants in the username's guard-ended firm, the painter's tale, the word look, the way the harassment felt neat, not chaotic, planned like a small-town parade. I searched public records. I did not find a person. I found a business address in Utah with no signage. I found a startup that scraped public videos for facial geometry. I found a GitHub repo with a commit message that said, "Audio environment detection robust to ring light level." I found a subreddit about acid that joked about fan fishing. That is what they called it. You cast a lot of lines. You tug on sounds. Refined patterns in backgrounds. You collect movements. You bend them back against a human Then there is this, in 4 of the stories, including Myers and Tyler's and Brooks and Jen. The first truly invasive event happened at 2:22 a.m. I do not think that is mystical. I think it is a job. I think it is a shift change. I think somewhere there is a monitor wall, and at 2:22, someone takes a breath, sips coffee, and says, "Now." I met Maya in a coffee shop near Lawrence. She came with a hoodie up and sat with her back to the wall. She tells jokes when she is scared. Some people freeze, some fight. She tells jokes. At least he had good plant care tips, she said, and smiled with her mouth, not her eyes. She told me about the voice outside her door, about how she left a bowl of water on the doormat one night, and in the morning there was dampness on the floor like someone had stepped and dripped. She showed me the air. She kept it sealed in a Ziploc like evidence. Tyler called from his friend's garage, the sound echoing off tools and a beer fridge. He said he changed gyms. He moved apartments. He set his Ring cam to push alerts to 3 different emails. He joked that he is safer now because he is poor. Then he sent me a photo of a towel. It was folded on his passenger seat, crisp corners. Like a hotel. Brooke texted me a picture of the word look. The blue tape on her wall had faded around the edges, dust sticking to the glue where the air conditioner blew. I cannot bring myself to peel it off, she wrote. It would feel like admitting I did not see it when it mattered. Jenna sent a voicemail. You can hear the cartoon in the background. You can hear the clink of a spoon in a mug. She said, I think they are trying to make me live smaller. Like if they cannot own me, they'll shrink the room around me until I can't stand up. She laughed a little. I can stand up, she said. I can still stand. I wrote all of this down. I edited it into a script. I recorded test audio at my desk. The ring light hummed. The neighbor's dryer thumped. I listened back, checking the pacing, the breaths. And then I heard my own voice. Not in the recording, not in the room, but faint and warm in my left ear, as if someone had leaned close and spoken into the tender place where your neck meets your jaw. You should change your battery. I do not have a smoke detector in this room. The voice came again, softer. Not that one. I paused the recording. I listened. Silence. Except the hum. Except my pulse. Then, a tip notification popped on my screen. I do not have an OnlyFans. It was just the sound. The same tone the Pavlov ding the creators described. The little chime that trains your brain to put your guard down because money is, for a second, love. Story 2 at 11:56 p.m. A notification slid across my phone like a whisper across a closed door. New message on your account from you. The app literally used my name as the sender. Same profile picture, same handle, same green dot lit up like I was chatting with myself in another room. The message said, "Do not open the door for the man with the pizza. He is not a driver." 3 seconds later, someone knocked. 2 knuckles, polite, then again, softer. I live in Columbus, off High Street, 3rd floor. The kind of walk-up that smells like old carpet and late-night ramen. I didn't order a pizza. The knock came with a little jingle, like keys hitting a metal ring, followed by a smooth voice. DoorDash for Taylor. That's my name. My hand hovered over the deadbolt. Another buzz from my phone. Put your phone on speaker and set it by the door so I can hear the hallway. I don't know why I listened, only that my spine said yes before my head caught up. I slid the phone to the base of the door and pressed my ear against the wall. I heard breathing, slow, close. We should back up. I'm not famous. I run a mid-sized account where I post stories and little life updates, Midwest stuff. Coffee at Fox in the snow, Osu game day traffic. Bi-weekly what I'm reading from half-price books. That kind of cozy internet corner. It pays a few bills, not all. I schedule posts on Sundays. I answer DMs in the evenings, and I try to keep the parasocial thing behind an imaginary fence. I'm careful. Two-factor authentication. Passwords in a vault. Peel box near Lane Avenue. My therapist calls it healthy boundaries, which sounds like therapy speak for rules you have to invent, because the internet doesn't come with any. When I tapped the message, my own chat window opened. No archive, no sent folder, just a line of plain text. Do not open the door for the man with the pizza. He is not a driver. Under it, a second. If he says your name again, he's testing your lock. I reached up and slid the deadbolt one notch further. The knob clicked and went still. The breathing on the other side changed like a smile. The voice tried again. Softer, tailored, extra pepperoni. Footsteps eased away. A minute later, a stair creaked, then nothing. I waited 5 full minutes. That's a lifetime in a hallway. In the morning, it felt like a dream with time. I walked down to the lobby and found no pizza box, no receipt. My neighbor Riley from 3B was leaving for the early shift at Nationwide Children's. She said she heard a man walking up and down the stairs around midnight. The kind of careful walking people do when they think it makes them sound like they belong. We stood behind the glass door in the grey light and said the things city people say. Weird, be safe. Text me if you need anything. Then I went to Kroger and bought a little door, wedge-shaped like a mouse, because it was cute, and fear is easier to swallow if it has a smile. When I got home, there was another message on my account. Same sender, same impossible thing. Nice magnet arrangement. Attached was a photo of my fridge, not an artsy copied from my feed photo. My fridge, this morning coffee stain on the door handle. OSU schedule crooked, the tiny ceramic Buckeye magnet tilted. My heart did the cold elevator drop. I looked at my fridge. The magnets matched, except in the photo, the order spelled a different word. I don't even spell things with my magnets. In the photo, the letters in the middle spelled listen. I called Derek, who does it at the university and collects old ThinkPads like some guys collect vinyl. He came over with a bag of cables and a laser pointer to make my cat love him forever. He checked for hidden cameras the way YouTube says you should. Turn off the lights. Scan for pinpricks of red. Shine your phone flashlight around. Sweep for reflections where they shouldn't be. He checked the network for unknown devices. I changed my Wi-Fi name from Winterhold Wi-Fi to Not Today Crew, because naming things makes them less scary. He set up an old laptop to log connections. He said, "It's probably just a glitch, or a prank, or a ghost." He grinned so I'd laugh. I did not. While he was still there, the third message appeared. "Check your stove now." Derek and I looked at each other like we said we were not going to be in a horror movie today. And then we went to the stove anyway, because curiosity is stronger than fear if you wrap it in denial. Pulled in the cardboard dust and crumbs was a folded strip of blue painter's tape with a hair stuck to it. Not mine, coarse and dark. The tape had a word sharpied on the inside, thin and shaky, like the writer pressed too hard. Now, the fourth message did not come through the app. It came as a calendar invitation on my email titled, "Do not be at your window at 3:17 a.m. Location, my address." I stared at the time. 3:17. Why not 3:15? Nice and clean. Why the 2 extra minutes? I declined the invitation, then immediately recreated the event myself and set an alarm, because declining a warning does not remove its gravity. At 3:17 a.m., pie away, back against the wall. Phone camera pointed through the peephole like a dollar store periscope recording. The stairwell light hummed. The motion sensor tripped once, then went still. Someone came up to the second floor and stopped. Stood there, not moving, not coughing, not whispering, just standing, the hair on my arms lifted. I recorded 30 seconds of empty hall and one shadow that did not belong to anything I could name. When I played it back, a single syllable rode the electrical noise on the audio like a leaf in a gutter. "Hi." Derek installed a better deadbolt the next day and pretended not to see my hands shake. He set my router to forget everything that was not my phone, my laptop, my TV. We ate takeout from Donata's and watched a Blue Jackets game with the volume low. I said the things people say when they are bargaining with their own fear. Maybe it's a former tenant. Maybe it's a weird neighbor. Maybe it's just me. The fifth message came while we were rinsing plates. "Left shoe, tie it now." I looked down. Both shoes were off. I thought it was nonsense until the sixth message came. 6 steps, then pause. I stood very still and listened. The pipes clicked. The upstairs neighbor flushed. My own heartbeat got loud. I tied the left shoe, a silly act in my own kitchen. Then I took 6 steps toward the hallway and paused. The frame slid off my wall in the living room and crashed exactly where my ankle would have been. A clean, controlled break. Glass like sugar. The messages started to feel less like intrusions and more like a map. "Don't take High Street on Tuesday. Order the Uber, not the lift. Wait one more train." Each time, if I disobeyed in my head, the picture flared. Me stuck behind a wreck on I-71. Me stepping into a lift with the wrong plate. Me at the window at 3:17. The warnings made me feel chosen in a way I did not want. Safe is relative when your safety arrives like commands. I started leaving my phone on Do Not Disturb, just to breathe without an order. That's when the messages changed format again. A package arrived from a place in Texas I did not recognize. Inside was a Polaroid of my living room chair, empty, with the TV remote on the left arm instead of the right, and a time stamp scrawled at the bottom. 12:13. At 12:13 that night, I walked through the room and saw the chair matched the photo exactly. Down to a ring of condensation on the coffee table I had not made. My chest went tight. I put the Polaroid in the freezer because my mum used to put film in the freezer, and fear borrows old rituals. Pi decided to talk to the messages like they were a person with a job and a break room and a supervisor who graded them on response time. I typed, "Who are you?" No answer. "How are you sending from my account?" Nothing. "Are you trying to help me?" The typing bubbles appeared. Dots in a row, vanishing, returning, like someone deciding how much truth to budget. The reply was a single word. Yes. I waited. Another dot, poor man. That for now sat in my head like a heavy key. I did not remember agreeing to hold. I wrote, "Where are you?" The reply, "In your drafts." That made my skin feel too smooth. I opened my app. I never use drafts. I schedule everything. But there they were. 9 drafts with no titles. Blank white cards with When I tapped one, it opened into a black screen with a white dot at the center. The phone vibrated once, the way it does for a silent notification. The dot moved, lazy, like a fly. It drifted to the top right corner and pulsed where my smoke detector is mounted. Pi closed the app. I stood on a chair and twisted the detector down. The battery was new. Bum. The back had a hairline crack like a seam. I pried it open with a butter knife and found a thumb-sized disc pressed into the plastic. Not a battery. Not anything I recognized. I set it on the table and did not touch it again. When people in scary stories say, "I called the police," what they mean is they rehearsed, sounding calm, and then told a stranger on a recorded line the worst thing. That had happened to them while feeling like a fraud for making it sound boring. A patrol car drove by. The officer stood in my kitchen and looked at my fridge and took down my words like I was writing a grant proposal for permission to be a friend. He said he would file a report. He said to keep the packages, keep the photos, save the messages. He said, "You seem like you have a good head on your shoulders." It felt like a compliment and a dismissal at once. When he left, the apartment felt the way a motel room feels after you drag your bag in and shut the door. Occupied, but not yours. At 2:40 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Turn off your TV." I was in bed, lights off, curtains open to a slice of orange street light. I don't sleep with the TV on. I walked into the living room anyway, and something low and metallic flickered on the screen. Not a channel, not a streaming app. The TV was mirroring a camera view, not mine. My room, from a corner higher than my bookshelves, fisheye and grainy. I looked up and saw nothing in that corner but a a smoke stain from the upstairs neighbor's experiment with a candle last winter. On the TV, in the fisheye view, a shape moved behind me, crossing the doorway I had just walked through. My breath jumped short. I did not turn around. I pulled the plug on the TV, and the room went black. Honest black. The kind where your own heart seems louder than the city. Basement, the next message said. Now, I do not love our basement. It's a concrete closet with a sump pump that coughs twice a day and a line of storage. Cages that make you feel like you're walking through a row of little empty jail cells. My cage is near the back. I keep 2 boxes of winter clothes and an old desktop computer down there, and a plastic tub of holiday decorations I keep meaning to sort. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, the motion lights clicked on one by one, slow and theatrical, like a stage show in a bad bar. My cage was open. The latch was not broken. It hung like someone's gentle fingers had just let go inside. On top of the plastic tub, there was a hoodie I hadn't worn since freshman year grade. Thin, with a tiny coffee stain near the collarbone. Folded on top of it was a piece of painter's tape. Sharpie again, thin and shaky. Put this on. My throat went tight. That kid feeling when you realize you are the only one who did not hear the directions. I put on the hoodie. The fabric was cold and remembered my shoulders. The next message buzzed. Stand in the center of the aisle and do not move. The light at the far end of the row flickered and then hummed back to steady. I stepped out of the cage into the aisle and felt the concrete cool through my socks. Somewhere upstairs, a door opened. Footsteps thudded, then softened, then reframed themselves into a rhythm that sounded like someone counting stairs with their feet. If you have never stood still because a stranger told you to, you cannot know the way your body tries to make you into a lion. Every tendon in me wanted to run. Every sensible part of my brain wrote short, efficient plans. Step left, swing through, grab the broom, go upstairs. My feet did not move. I listened. The footsteps got to the basement door. The hinge squealed, predictable as weather. The motion light near the stairs tripped on. I stared at the far wall where the paint bubbled in a shape like Florida. I did not blink. The steps came down. 1, pause. 2, pause. The person was counting. At the bottom, the breathing started. Close. A soft, damp kind of breath that adds humidity to a room. In the center of the aisle, exactly where a person would have to pass to reach me, there was a penny on the floor. Heads up. I do not pick up pennies from the floor of basements at midnight. I don't care what luck exists. The next message arrived. Do not look at his shoes. That bothered me more than the breathing. Shoes say so much size, weight, how someone walks, where they've been. A pair of boots thudded into my peripheral vision. Brown leather, scuffed toe. I did not look down. The boots stopped an arm's length away. I smelled winter night and the dry, clean whiff of dryer sheets. He stood there and did not say hello. The man moved to my left, slow, past me. The boots were the metronome for my fear. He reached my cage, and I heard the faint music of metal on metal as he pretended to inspect the latch. Then the boots angled back toward me, and stopped again. The way you stop to appreciate a painting you might buy. He leaned in. I could feel the heat of him, almost imperceptible and real. He whispered something small, as if he hoped the word would bloom into something bigger if he planted it gently. Neighbor. Then he moved past me again and climbed the stairs in that controlled, careful way. The basement door's hinge squealed, and the quiet after felt like a vacuum. My phone buzzed one more time. Go upstairs. Lock your door. Do not call anyone for 3 minutes. I obeyed because I had obeyed all night. 3 minutes is a long time when you are counting the shape of your own breath. When the timer ended, the thudding in my chest did not. I called Derek and could not persuade my voice into words that sounded like a normal person. He said he was on his way. He said, turn on every light. I did. My apartment looked like a stage set designed to convince an audience there were no monsters in the shadows. When Derek arrived, we walked the hallway together. No pizza boxes, no painter's tape, just the single ordinary hum of a building that needs a new boiler and a coat of paint. I showed him the hoodie, the tape, the words. I showed him my freezer full of fear, a Polaroid pressed against a box of waffles. He asked how the messages started. I told him, from me to me. He asked me to screen record the next one. He wanted proof. At 2:22 a.m. Like a school bell, a new message came. The app window recorded it clear. My profile icon, my handle, the text, good, you kept your head down. Then something else happened. The recorded video shows it even though I did not notice then. In the top right corner of the app, a tiny gray tag appeared for a second and then faded. It said, scheduled by drafts. I did not schedule anything. I did not write these, and yet the app, my app, credited the source as a tool I had owned myself. The messages were not breaking in. They were using an open door, a door I had opened. And if something was using my drafts, that meant it was inside my habits, inside my settings, inside the way I run my small life like a tidy diner, where the salt is always to the right of the napkins. The next message came like a mercy and a threat under the same stamp. 2 days. Then one more instruction. Then you won't hear from me again. It felt like graduation and a sentence. I slept with my shoes beside the bed. I ate breakfast at 7-Eleven because the fluorescent lights felt like a shield. I walked to the post office in daylight and watched the reflections in the windows like they were subtitles for a language I didn't speak. On the second night, at 3:17 a.m., the final message arrived. Go to your window. Open the curtain. Do not turn on the light. I stood with the curtain cord in my hand and thought about all the times I had listened to instructions that kept me from harm. I thought about the man in the basement whose breath touched the air on my cheek like a fingerprint. I thought about the Polaroid that knew the future like it was a memory. Carefully, I did not move. The message repeated, go to your window. Open the curtain. Do not turn on the light. Under it, something new like a signature, where even I reached slowly and lifted the curtain 2 inches. Outside, the street was empty but for a car idling at the corner. The headlights were off. The dashboard glowed that soft green every American car seems to share. A silhouette sat still in the driver's seat. I could not see his face. I saw only his hands, one on the wheel, one on his knee, and the second hand drummed a rhythm I recognized but could not place. By the rhythm from the basement, the counting of stairs, the careful, the control. He looked up at my window with a movement so small it might have been an illusion, and the car rolled forward, slow, then turned onto high and disappeared. My phone pinged a final time. We keep each other safe when you do exactly as you're told. Then, under it, an unsent draft bubbled into view for half a breath, like a fish breaking the surface. It read, "Next time, do not look up." If this were a clean story, this is where I would tell you I moved, changed numbers, turned off the internet, learned to knit, and never checked a notification again. I did move 1 floor down to a unit with a window that faces a brick wall. I did change my number. I did not turn off the internet. That is not how this goes. This is how it goes. I still get drafts sometimes. They appear like hiccups and vanish before I can screenshot them. They say things like, "Don't answer that email," and the third step creaks, and wait. They do not say who is on the other side. Do I feel grateful? Sometimes. Do I feel watched? Always. Do I feel like I'm part of a system that uses care as a leash? Yes. And if I'm being honest, obedience feels like relief when the alternative is guessing in the dark. Here is the part I am not proud of. Last week, I used the schedule function for the first time. I wrote a reminder to myself, simple, powerless, by dish soap. I set it for noon and put my phone face down and tried to feel normal, while the timer crawled toward the moment I would receive a message from myself. At 11:59, another draft blinked up from nowhere, like a hand sliding a note across a diner counter. It said, "Don't check your doorbell notification until you hear the second knock." I did not breathe. 12 o'clock, the doorbell cam pinged. I waited. Another knock came. Lighter, careful. Bye. Opened the app. The first notification, the one I hadn't checked, showed a man standing too close to the peephole, tall enough to shade it, wearing a reflective vest with no logo. The second notification showed an Amazon driver, uniform, package in hand, looking tired in that real human way. I went to the door and accepted a box. I had actually ordered sponges, dish soap. Boring life, Itemzand said. Thanks, with my heart beating a drumline inside my ribs. The weird message did not arrive at noon. It was already spent on a small act of steering. I put the dish soap under the sink and sat on the floor, because standing up suddenly felt like I was asking too much of gravity. This is the cliff where the ground gives a little when you put your weight on it. I am talking into a microphone right now. There is a ring light I keep meaning to return because the low hum reads as a headache more than a halo. The building's boiler sighs on a 20-minute cycle, and when it does, The pipes in my bathroom make a sound like someone exhaling on a cold window. If the audio drops for a second, if the room tone shifts, that is because the draft window just opened and closed on its own to let something through. I did not invite and do not know how to refuse.